Welcome, ladies. This is the foundation for Elevation Station. And a lot of times I describe my perspective on what's going on the dating scene. But sometimes it's great for a lady to hear it from another woman with an intellectual standing that they respect instead of the the female accommodationalist angle. This lady is her name is Melanie King, and she has a perspective that is noteworthy for the modern woman, especially African American ladies, to eternalize, to throw under the microscope and see just what is going on from the powers that direct things. What is behind this woman empowerment movement that we can't see? But some people of a higher intellectual standing can see. And I wish to enlighten ladies because I know it's hard for ladies to take a man's perspective wholeheartedly. So, without further ado, here's Melanie King.
When we talk about this, and I just saw the first 10 seconds, and I was like, okay, I need to talk about this. But this is what I have been ringing the bell about, ringing the alarm about. When we talk about when we talk about the dating crisis and we talk about modern women and Western women, and we all know what's going on in the streets, if you've had your ear to the ground or boots on the ground involved in the streets, then you understand that we are in an extreme crisis. And the only people that seem to recognize where this crisis is coming from, the actual root cause, are the men. Women overall are just blaming, men aren't keeping up. Where have all the good men gone? Men are dusty, men are broke, men are on our level. I don't want to date down. They have this very me-centered, narcissistic focus on self and their individual results, where I see men as a collective are understanding the broad strokes, the macro view versus the micro view of self. And we all know that it has stemmed from, this is the result, this is the poisonous result from feminism and the sexual liberation. And over the decades, as more of this has seeped into our society, into everyday life, we are now, because of social media, one, and dating apps, it has, by order of magnitude, I don't know what order of magnitude, by a lot, it has expedited the downfall of the West, the downfall of the nuclear family, the downfall of mating and relationships here in the U.S. And so until we start addressing what is causing this, and it's coming from multiple levels within our society, not just the dating apps and social media. Yes, those are where you see the most, you see it is in your face. But what we're seeing it from, where I notice it isn't all walks it's on all levels of our society. So we're talking about governmental policies, the universities, the school systems, corporations, even how money is being handled and given out towards women, and how men can't even, I've had so many young men tell me that they aren't able even to get a school loan to go to college. They don't qualify because they aren't minority enough, they aren't oppressed enough. And even when young men are on these campuses, and this is what you don't hear too many people talk about, is that the reason why a lot of men have stepped away from going to college is because most of these colleges are very anti-male. There's a lot of toxic misandry and feminism that is accepted. It is the general current. It is what it undergirds almost every facet of university life, from what they're taught, what campus groups are allowed to be on there, to how they deal with each other, how the different sexes deal with each other. Men have been, now it's not even a matter of making women equal to men. It is now about oppressing men, silencing men, and keeping men, putting their foot on men's necks. And then on top of that, men are not seeing the benefits of going to these universities, one where their manhood, their masculinity is going to be constantly under assault and challenge. But then once they leave university, they're not able to find jobs in their selected field that pay enough, and then they have their saddle with college debt. they're saddled with these different with these loans or college debt, or they're not able to find a job in their chosen field. And so it's illogical for a lot of men to want to put themselves through that. And so this is where, and you will not hear too many people acknowledge that this is the crisis comes from this toxic feminism that has shut down men and boys from wanting to pursue higher degrees and to go into these things. And women don't care because they feel as though now they're getting all the benefits. They're getting all the rewards for this. But we know women are starting to see the consequences of these things where they don't want to be strong and independent anymore. They're tired of being girl bosses. Now they want to live their soft life, and they're upset that they can't find a man or a man on their level. They're like, why aren't these men keeping up? And they're starting to feel the effects, which we know the modern woman only cares about things if it directly affects her. She still is not going to take accountability for her own actions and beliefs and hold these institutions or anything else accountable for what they've done to men. So we know that. But now they're just at least starting to wake up and question these things because they're miserable. They're sad. They're getting ran through by Chad and Tyrone. They can't get these men to commit. They thought a degree would make them more valuable to men on the sexual marketplace, and it's starting to clock in that, okay, none of this is working. And you even are seeing on TikTok now, women are like, why did you other women ruin this? Who told us that we should get a degree and work these corporate slave jobs and be unhappy? And they're not able to, they're not having the families that they truly want. When they were younger, they didn't want a family. They didn't want these things. But now they're getting older, they want it, but there's no men around. The men that they want don't want them, or they're already taken. Or the men are just bypassing these women because they don't see value in being with a woman who was a feminist, a misandrist her entire life, or had no compassion or empathy towards men, and now she wants a nice guy to come clean up her life or come save her or rescue her from her poor decisions growing up. And now those men are gone, and men have the options of the entire world in terms of exploring their options. With men from the West in particular, they can go out to different countries, more traditional countries, and find wives and girlfriends. But the Western woman, she has no options. Because we know why. Because they do not have options. They can't go to the same countries to find a man. One, because they're going to want a man who makes a certain amount of money. And in those countries, the men do not make as much money, especially here in the U.S. The U.S. dollar is very strong, or Western dollars are very strong compared to these more traditional countries. Then two, we also know if these men are coming from more traditional countries, they're not going to want a Western woman from the U.S. Unless we're talking about passport bae. But all right, a green card bae. But anyway, guys, I said a lot. Let's keep it going. I talked a lot.
In the not too distant past, marriage preceded sex, and young.
We did 50 years ago, just the other way around.
After centuries of men dominating the economy.
I want to say this as well. They can't just put it like women are just achieving on their own merit. The policies, the governmental policies, corporate policies, and university policies have undergirded women, have pushed women to the forefront while they have oppressed men. So it's not like this natural evolution of women achieving. No, the propaganda that has pushed women towards the forefront and has pushed men down, and they don't want to recognize that part of it. So I just wanted to put that out there. Even in the scholarship programs and the different initiatives that they have going out, they're mostly geared towards women. So you can't just say, oh, well, men are just falling behind because they're less than. No. There is propaganda and agenda that has been behind this, but they don't want to recognize that.
This piece of data is that women are dominating college enrollment. In a few years, 2 women will earn a degree for every 1 man.
Guys, that's not that important. A lot of these, you have underwater basket weaving. A lot of women are getting degrees and getting useless degrees for the most part. They're getting degrees in things that are in the arts and humanities for the most part. So they're not going into STEM. Well, now it's called STEAM. They're not going to science, technology, engineering, and math. I'm not including the arts. They say the arts, it's like that's what the A is, the STEAM, and they say the arts is now graphic design and architecture, which that could still be in engineering. So I'm not really sure why anyway. So with STEM, the women are not getting the degrees and things that matter. Women are not doing the jobs that actually push the economy and the infrastructure. Okay, and they're not the ones that undergird the infrastructure here in the U.S. That's for sure. It is men who do trade jobs, technical jobs that actually run this country. So, as bad as it seems men are not getting these degrees because men are more logical. They're not getting these worthless degrees. They're going into trades and fields where it doesn't require one, or ones where they have more job security because these jobs are needed. They're not these fluffy kind of jobs, these cushion jobs that a lot of women go towards that can get eliminated by AI, which we're going to see how many of these women are going to have all these great jobs and be ahead once AI really starts to take over. AI can't run the pipelines. AI can't be a bricklayer. AI, for the most part, cannot do a lot of the majority of jobs that technical and tradesmen do. And so we'll see, how this balances out. But across the board, women are still not getting the degrees and things that matter. And they're coming out in debt. They're saddled down with debt. So we need to tell the other side of the coin. They always like to put this fluffy things where they're getting these degrees. Yeah, these degrees are worthless, especially in today's economy.
So hard to find a guy that I'm attracted to that isn't an asshole.
Where did all the good men go?
Can someone tell me where I can find a decent, loyal, funny, good-looking guy around here?
This reality is playing out on modern dating apps like Tinder. Data reveals that men swipe right on about 60% of female profiles, whereas women swipe right on only 4% of male profiles. On account of being scarcely available.
Guys, the new data shows it's 1% now. I'm actually going to do a video next on this new Tinder data.
These few desirable men are free to set the rules of the dating game, and as the renowned evolutionary psychologist David Buss said in 2015, research overwhelmingly shows that men harbor, on average, a greater desire for sexual partner variety.
So what you see, where there is a surplus of women and a scarcity of men, is more casual dating, because the men get to make the rules. If there are fewer men than there are women, the women have to compete, and the only way that they can compete is by playing the game that the men want.
This sexual paradigm has long been referred to as hookup culture, and it often sees attractive women moving from one short-term relationship to another, unable to tie down the men.
Not just attractive women, we have women on all levels of the Fibonacci scale, who are in hookup culture. When they plus size, it doesn't matter, and it's because a lot of the top men are able to knock these women down. They're easy pickings, and then women believe that because a guy who's say that she's a 4 or 5, and then a man who's a 7, 8, 9 knocks her down, she thinks that's her new level. So then they live in this delusional bubble and think now I look good enough to obtain a man like this. Like when they say, yeah, I've dated millionaires and I've dated a guy like this, and you didn't date that man. He was using you as a skeet receptacle, but you label it as dating. You are hooking up and giving away your body for free. There's women today where they don't want to fix a man a plate. They don't want to set a man's plate, but they will fix her. She will fix her coochie for him. She will give that away for free, but fixing him a plate or doing anything for a man is beneath her. It's misogynist. It's misogyny. But she'll let him take every part or every hole in her body for pleasure, and she doesn't see a problem with it. So it's not just this hypergamy. It's women are delusional and really crazy in the way that their logic is flawed. There's a lot of kinks in their logic that does not make sense, and they contradict their own desires. So guys, that's a whole different discussion. I just have to put that out there.
To committed, long-term, monogamous relationships.
I don't know how I always end up in the exact same situation. It's always great. I feel like these people like me, I'm like, wow, like I'm finally clicking with somebody. And then it's always the same thing. They're not in a place where they are looking for a relationship. They have other things that are more important. And I'm just like I'm never good enough.
Every single book.
So she has her answer. You're not good enough for that man. For the men you are going after, you don't understand why you're in that situation. It's not, and a lot of them will blame men or they have a pity party, but they won't make logical decisions. They won't do an internal inventory and say, if none of this keeps happening. I keep giving away my body to these men, most likely a Chad or Tyrone or a high value seemingly man, and
I would just like to pause it also. A lot of times when ladies become successful and you start to enter 30 years of age, 40 years of age, you lose some of your physical beauty, and you start applying accessories to compensate. And for, most men you are searching for, this ends up detracting from your beauty, like in the eyes and the perception of men. And it does for me also. When you have foundation caked on, or with artificial hair that you can actually see the tracks, and it's a turn off for me. Not saying it may lower a woman on a scale of 1 to 10 from a 7 down to a 3, but it's pretty close. It's especially if the weave had, and I'm not just talking about a dirty women. A lot of women, you have an odor in the weave. You wear revealing clothing that shows different rolls or deposits of fat that should be concealed in respectable garments. Well, anyway, I just had to get that all in there.
he's not picking me for relationship. There's always a reason why. And then you say, am I not good enough? She's asking that as rhetorical. She doesn't really think she's not good enough. It's almost like she wants people to say, oh yeah, you're good enough. Of course, it's just these men. No, you're not good enough for them. And we've got to start having reality. Women do not want to be in reality. They're quick to tell a man that he's not good enough for her. Women are quick to call men names, tell them they're dusty, they're broke, they're not on her level. She needs to level up. That he's, she's dating, that with him, I will be dating down. But they have to understand that for most of them, if men are not committing to you, it is you. If you're having this repeated pattern, you are reaching too high. You are shooting above your pay grade. These men look better, are higher status, and they can get better looking women than you. And generally, if they're not picking you as well, because it's not just about looks that just gets you in the door, but personality wise, you are not there. Why is it so difficult for women to be honest? Women say they're living in their truth and they want the truth, but they don't want to be truthful to themselves, and they're certainly not truthful to each other, because to be truthful to each other means that they have to look in the mirror. They can't even, they have to live in this lie, this bubble, this lie, but they're miserable in it. They're depressed and they're asking stupid questions. Where are all the good men gone? Men are not asking that. Men are just like, there are no good women. I'm exiting the dating market, going my own way, and whether that means I'm not dating at all or I'm just going to be a passport bro, they're finding solutions. They're not sitting on the internet crying about, oh, woe is me. This is why men are winning now, and men are able to go out and find more traditional women. They're not sitting on the internet crying and living in delusion.
Yeah, I go on a date with her.
And so many ladies want the same type of men, but don't want to agree with polygamy or take that word away, but just have multiple lives and living in the house together. When you ladies are dating multiple men, and it's like you're sharing anyway, when it can be in a different form of respectable means. It's a lot of changes that I believe lie on the side of the woman. It is not men being innocent in my estimation, but women, just like with this video, have the most realization to be realized. The mirror. This lady, this beautiful woman, Melanie King, is saying it. As I say a lot also. And I don't want to be as harsh as this lady, but maybe I need to start doing it.
Yeah, I'm in a relationship. I'm just looking for the right person. I'm so loyal, I just want a relationship. we have a really good date and then I just don't hear from them again. Or I do for like a couple of days and then they ghost. Like, I've seriously fucking had enough. I'm going to be single for the rest of my life.
There was a time when if men wanted to have sex, they had to marry you. Whereas now, the price of sex is Netflix and chill. So
Or
the standards have
some
changed.
smoke.
And we've allowed them to change because we wanted to prove that
Take you out to
we're
eat.
just as bad as the boys. And I think that that is backfiring.
The result is a quite distorted sexual marketplace.
If you have more lax rules around casual sex before marriage and birth control, which means that you can have sex without fear of having children, that means that women can have sex with high-value men who are perhaps higher value than they would usually have access to, which then skews their goals moving forward about who they want to be in a long-term relationship with.
Because when they were sleeping with these really attractive guys, they thought, okay, this person is attracted to me because I'm on his level, not knowing that men drastically reduce their standards when it comes to casual situations.
And if you do have this experience with this guy and it was a fantastic experience and you're head over heels for him, you want to replicate that experience in the next relationships you have. But if that guy that you're dating doesn't quite reach that standard, you're never going to be happy.
Men, on the other hand, are struggling not only to find long-term partners, but even to have sex at all. Sadly, many have become too apathetic and devoid of confidence to even bother trying.
I feel like possibly my self-esteem is like so low that I've subconsciously ruled out the possibility of ever like getting a girlfriend or whatever.
Generally speaking, the only people who are significantly benefiting from this state of affairs are the limited number of high-status men.
That top slice of playboys, they're having simultaneous relationships all back to back. It's great for them in the short term. It's rubbish for the other men, and it's also rubbish for the women because you end up with women who actually really want to have loving, intimate, monogamous relationships and they don't feel like they can.
If other groups are in fact gaining from this condition, it's primarily those in the middle and upper classes.